The immense void of space held many terrors, but none so feared as the Kravax. For 3 centuries, they had swept through 17 star systems, leaving nothing but empty husks of planets in their wake. They were the apex predators of the galaxy, a hive mind species capable of consuming the minds of other beings, assimilating their knowledge while discarding their consciousness like empty shells. Commander Zorlax stood on the observation deck of the Alliance starship Andromeda. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display of the Kravax fleet's trajectory. A member of the highly logical Zentri species Exorlax had lived 300 Earth years, rising through the ranks of the Alliance of Civilizations through his unparalleled analytical abilities and dedication to efficiency. "They've changed course," he noted, his voice devoid of emotion. "Calculations indicate a 97% probability they are heading toward the Sol system." His second-in-command, Dr. Alara, moved beside him. Her translucent skin pulsed with patterns of light, the way her species communicated emotion. Currently, the patterns indicated concern. "The humans?" she asked. "They are barely a Class 3 civilization. Their space exploration capabilities are limited to their own star system." Zorlax nodded. "Precisely why the Kravax have selected them. Easy prey." He dismissed the hologram with a wave of his hand. "The Alliance Council has deemed them too underdeveloped for direct intervention. We will observe and document another regrettable but inevitable extinction." Across the galaxy on Earth, Dr. Maya Patel stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her voice steady despite the catastrophic news she'd just delivered. "The objects approaching are not asteroid," she explained, pointing to the screen behind her, showing massive organic mechanical hybrid vessels. "They're alive, or at least partially alive, and they're coming straight for us." Captain Lee Jimenez, commander of Earth's Defense Forces, leaned forward. "How long do we have, Dr. Patel?" 3 days, she replied. "Maybe 4. The council chamber erupted in panicked voices until Captain Jimenez slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. Dr. Patel is our leading xenobiologist. If anyone can help us understand what we're facing, it's her." Maya nodded gratefully. She had dedicated her life to the theoretical study of extraterrestrial biology, never imagining her theories would be tested so drastically, and certainly not after losing her family in a shuttle accident just 2 years prior. That personal tragedy had nearly broken her, but she had channeled her grief into her work. "I can't tell you much about their biology yet," she admitted, "but their ships, if we can call them that, appear to be partly organic. They function almost like a single organism." "Can we negotiate?" someone asked. Maya's expression darkened. "We've been broadcasting on all frequencies. They haven't responded, but they have accelerated." As the meeting adjourned, Captain Jimenez pulled Maya aside. "Tell me honestly, do we have any chance?" Maya looked into his eyes, sensing he needed more than just cold scientific assessment. "Honestly, I don't know. But humans have survived Ice Age's plagues, and our own self-destructive tendencies. Something tells me we're not going down without a one hell of a fight." Jimenez smiled for the first time that day. "That's why I wanted you on this team, Doctor. You've got both the brains and the guts for this fight." The Kravax Queen, a massive entity at the center of the largest hive ship, extended her consciousness through her countless drones. They had detected the primitive transmissions from the blue planet electromagnetic waves carrying strange patterns of information. The humans were attempting communication, unaware that to the Kravax, their broadcasts were merely the equivalent of prey announcing their location. The Queen had consumed the minds of 17 different species across the galaxy. Each conquest added to their collective knowledge, making them even more efficient predators. Humans would be no different. Their minds would be absorbed, their bodies discarded, their planet stripped of resources. The invasion began precisely as the Kravax had planned. Their ships, living extensions of their hive mind, descended through Earth's atmosphere, targeting major population centers. Their strategy had been perfected over centuries: overwhelm, consume, expand. But something unexpected happened. The first wave of Kravax drones connected to human minds and encountered chaos. Instead of orderly thoughts and predictable fear responses, they found a cacophony of emotions: love, hate, joy, grief, hope, despair, all existing simultaneously, contradicting each other, yet somehow coexisting. The human minds were messy, illogical, and overwhelming. For the first time in their history of conquests, the Kravax hesitated. On the Andromeda commander, Sorlax watched in confusion as the initial Kravax assault faltered. "This is unprecedented," he murmured, replaying the footage. "They've never hesitated in any previous invasion." Dr. Alara's skin flickered with patterns of surprise. "Perhaps we underestimated the humans' defense capabilities." Sorlax shook his head. "Impossible. Their technology is primitive compared to the Kravax. There must be another factor we're missing. On Earth, humanity was fighting back with everything they had. Conventional weapons, yes, but also in ways no one had anticipated. When direct military strikes proved minimally effective against the organic ships, people turned to unconventional methods. In Mumbai, a group of musicians gathered at the edge of the invasion zone and began playing traditional ragas, amplified through massive speakers directed at the Kravax vessels. In Rio de Janeiro, the samba schools united their rhythms pounding through the streets. In Detroit, they blasted classic Motown. In Shanghai, ancient Chinese opera filled the air. Around the world, humans responded not just with weapons, but with their most powerful emotions, expressed through art, music, and unity. In her laboratory beneath what remained of London, Maya Patel was observing something remarkable. The captured Kravax drone before her was reacting strangely to the music playing in the background, a melancholy piano piece by Chopin. "Turn it up," she instructed her assistant. As the volume increased, the drone began to twitch, its neural patterns changing rapidly. "It's responding to the music," she whispered, watching the readings. But why? Over the next 48 hours, Maya conducted experiment after experiment. She exposed the captured drone to different forms of human expression: music, poetry, visual art, monitoring its responses. The results were consistent. Human emotional expression created disruption in the Kravax neural patterns. "They're hive-minded," she explained to Captain Jimenez during an emergency meeting. "They function as a collective consciousness, individual identity, individual emotion. These concepts are completely foreign to them." "And that helps us how?" Jimenez asked, exhaustion evident in his voice after days of fighting a losing battle. Maya's eyes lit up with the intensity of a scientific breakthrough. "Their connection works both ways. When they try to consume our minds, they're also exposing themselves to our emotions. And they can't process them. It's like trying to download a file in a format your computer doesn't recognize. It corrupts their system. So our emotions are a virus to them. More like an entirely new operating system that their biology isn't equipped to handle." Maya pulled up diagrams on her tablet. "I've been working on a device that could amplify human emotional response and broadcast it directly into their neural network. I'm calling it the empathy beacon." Meanwhile, aboard the Andromeda, Commander Sorlax had made a decision. Against the explicit orders of the Alliance Council, he directed his ship closer to Earth to gather more detailed data on the unprecedented situation unfolding below. "The Kravax should have consumed this planet within 48 hours, he told his crew. "Instead, they appear to be struggling. We need to understand why." What they observed defied all logical explanation. The Kravax drones were displaying erratic behavior. Some seemed to be fighting each other. Others had stopped attacking humans entirely and were instead hovering near sources of music or art. Most shocking of all, some drones had separated from the hive mind completely, something previously thought impossible for their species. They're becoming individuals, Dr. Alara whispered, her skin pulsing with patterns Exorlax had never seen before. The humans are somehow breaking their collective consciousness. On the surface, Maya's team worked frantically to complete the empathy beacon. The device was a complex neural transmitter designed to amplify and broadcast human emotional patterns directly into the Kravax neural network. It's not exactly a weapon, Maya explained to the military officers gathered around her makeshift lab. More like a translator, but one that will force them to understand us, to feel what we feel. Will it kill them? General Singh asked bluntly. Maya met his gaze steadily. I don't know. It might destroy their hive mind. It might just change them. Either way, it's our best chance. As they prepared for what might be, humanity's last stand, Captain Jimenez found Maya alone making final adjustments to the beacon. You should get to the bunker, he told her. She didn't look up from her work. If this fails, no bunker will save any of us. Maya, he said softly, using her first name for the first time. What you've accomplished in days would have taken others years. Whatever happens, you've given us a fighting chance. She finally looked up, her eyes reflecting the weight of what was at stake. After I lost my family, I thought I'd never feel anything but grief again. Now I'm betting the survival of our entire species on the power of human emotion. There's a certain poetry to that, don't you think? Before Jimenez could respond, alarms blared. The Kravax Queen's ship, 10 times larger than any other in their fleet, had entered Earth's atmosphere. The final battle had begun. The Queen had never before needed to personally intervene in a conquest. But the reports filtering back through the hive mind were disturbing. Her drones were being changed, corrupted. Many had gone silent entirely. Others were sending confusing, contradictory information. For the first time in her existence, the Queen felt something akin to doubt. She extended her consciousness, connecting directly to the minds of the humans below. She would understand this threat herself, then eliminate it. But the moment the Queen's consciousness touched human minds, she was bombarded with sensations she had never experienced: the fierce love of a parent for their child, the ache of loss, the exhilaration of joy, the weight of grief, the warmth of compassion. In her millennia of existence, consuming countless minds across the galaxy, the Queen had never encountered such a maelstrom of feeling. The Kravax had evolved to process information, knowledge, and skills from the species they consumed. But emotions were something else entirely. They were not data to be assimilated. They were experiences that could only be felt. On the ground, Maya knew this was their moment. Now, she shouted, activating the empathy beacon. The device hummed to life, gathering the emotional energy of thousands of humans connected to it through neural interfaces. Joy, sorrow, love, hope, anger, compassion, all flowing through the beacon, amplified and projected directly into the Queen's consciousness. Aboard the Andromeda commander, Xorla watched in astonishment as the massive Queen ship began to shudder and pulse with strange energies. What in the name of the cosmic balance is happening? He demanded. Dr. Alara's skin was practically blinding with patterns of excitement. The humans, they've weaponized their emotions somehow. They're attacking the Queen directly. Impossible, Zorlax muttered, but he could not deny the evidence before his eyes. Inside the Queen's vast consciousness, a revolution was occurring. For the first time, the collective mind of the Kravax was experiencing something beyond the cold efficiency of predation. Through the empathy beacon, they felt the raw power of human connection. The love between family members, the bond between friends, the quiet dignity of grief, the soaring height of joy. The Queen struggled against this invasion of feeling, trying to re-establish control over her increasingly fragmented hive. But the emotions continued to pour in, cracking the foundation of their collective identity. And then something extraordinary happened. Deep within the neural network of the Kravax Queen, A voice distinct individual, separate from the collective, spoke, "I feel." Across the globe, the Kravax forces froze. The attack stopped. The drones hovered motionless. In her lab, Maya stared at her readings in disbelief. "They're pulling back," she whispered, afraid to hope. "They're actually retreating." Captain Jimenez grabbed her shoulder. "You did it, Dr. Patel. You actually did it." But Maya shook her head, understanding dawning on her face. "No, we all did it. Every human on this planet, whoever loved, hated, grieved, or rejoiced, we all did this. We showed them something they've never encountered before, what it means to be an individual with feelings rather than just part of a collective." As the Kravax ships began to rise back into the atmosphere, a strange transmission came through on all frequencies, a mixture of discordant sounds that gradually resolved into words. "We withdraw. We must understand this new experience." The Queen had spoken not as the voice of a unified hive, but as a being grappling with the first stirrings of individual consciousness. Commander Zorlax could scarcely believe the reports. In 300 years of documented history, the Kravax had never retreated from a conquest. Yet now their entire fleet was pulling away from Earth, returning to deep space. "We need to inform the Alliance Council immediately," Dr. Alara urged. But Zorlax found himself hesitating. The Council never authorized our observation mission. They had written off the humans as a lost cause. All the more reason they need to know what's happened here, Alara argued. "Everything we thought we understood about the Kravax, about the very nature of advanced civilizations, has been challenged today." Zorlax studied the readings from Earth once more. The humans used no advanced technology, no superior weaponry. They defended themselves with emotions. He spoke the word as if testing an unfamiliar concept. The Council measures civilization advancement by technological progress alone. Perhaps that metric is incomplete. After much deliberation, Zorlax made an unprecedented decision. The Andromeda would descend to Earth, the first official contact between the Alliance and humanity. When the sleek Alliance vessel landed outside the ruins of New York City, humans approached with understandable caution. Captain Jimenez led the delegation with Maya close behind. Commander Zorlax emerged from his ship, his tall, angular form causing murmurs among the human onlookers. "I am Commander Zorlax of the Alliance of Civilizations," he announced, his translator converting his speech into English. "We have been observing your conflict with the Kravax." "You were watching while we fought for our survival," Jimenez asked, anger evident in his voice. "It is Alliance policy not to interfere with developing civilizations," Zorlax replied evenly. "But I must acknowledge that our assessment of your species was flawed. We measured advancement by technological capabilities alone. Today, you have demonstrated that there are other forms of power." Maya stepped forward. "You mean our emotions?" Zorlax turned his 4 eyes toward her. "Indeed. In all our records, no species has ever repelled the Kravax. Yet you accomplished this not through superior firepower or defenses, but through the projection of your feelings." He seemed to struggle with the concept. "I must understand how this was possible." Maya was invited aboard the Andromeda to explain the empathy beacon and the theory behind it. She found herself in a strange position teaching beings from far more technologically advanced civilizations about the power of human emotion. "The Kravax evolved as perfect predators," she explained to Zorlax and his crew. "Their hive mind made them incredibly efficient. But that same evolutionary path cost them something we take for granted: individual identity and the emotions that come with it. And you believe these emotions are advantageous?" Zorlax asked, clearly struggling to grasp the concept. "They're essential," Maya replied firmly. "Emotion drives innovation. It fuels our art, our music, our literature. Even our science is propelled by curiosity, which is itself an emotional response to the unknown. Dr. Alara, whose species communicated primarily through emotional light patterns, found herself deeply intrigued by Maya's explanations. Your empathy beacon, it didn't just attack the Kravax, did it? Maya smiled. No, attack implies destruction. What we did was more like education. We forced them to experience something they had never known before. In the weeks that followed, as Earth began its recovery, something unexpected occurred. A single Kravax ship returned to Earth's orbit, not to attack, but to communicate. A drone descended to the surface, its movements different from before, more fluid, less mechanical. It requested to speak with the humans who created the emotional wave. Maya met with the drone in a secure facility. To everyone's surprise, it spoke not as part of a collective, but as an individual. I am Echo, it said using the name Maya had given to the drone she had experimented on earlier. I was first to experience separation. First, to know myself. Echo explained that the Queen and many of the Kravax were undergoing a profound transformation. The exposure to human emotions had triggered something unexpected in their biology, the awakening of dormant neural pathways that allowed for individual consciousness. We were incomplete, Echo said. For millennia, we consumed minds across the galaxy, seeking something we could not name. Now we understand. We were seeking what you naturally possess, the capacity to feel as individuals while remaining connected to others. Echo's revelations stunned not only the humans, but Commander Zorlax as well. The commander found himself facing a crisis of his own perfectly logical worldview. If the Kravax, the most efficient predator species known in the galaxy, could be transformed by exposure to emotion, what did that mean for his own species' devotion to pure logic? 1 year later, the Alliance of Civilizations convened a special council meeting. For the first time in its long history, representatives from Earth were invited to attend, despite their primitive technological status. Maya Patel stood before the assembled delegates from across the galaxy, her voice steady as she addressed beings from civilizations thousands of years more advanced than her own. The traditional metrics by which the Alliance has measured advancement focus exclusively on technological progress, she began. But technology without empathy, without emotional intelligence, can lead to exactly the kind of cold efficiency that made the Kravax such terrifying predators. Commander Zorlax, who had become Earth's most vocal advocate within the Alliance, stood beside her. The human capacity for emotional connection represents an evolutionary path that many of our civilizations, including my own, have neglected in our pursuit of logical and technological perfection. The council chamber filled with murmurs, some of agreement, others of skepticism. A delegate from a highly advanced machine intelligence spoke. Emotions are inefficient. They cloud judgment. They lead to irrational decisions. Yes. Maya agreed, surprising everyone. They can be all those things. They can lead us astray, cause us to make mistakes, even start wars. But they also inspire our greatest achievements, fuel our resilience, and connect us to each other in ways that logic alone never could. She gestured to Echo, who now served as the representative of a small faction of Kravax who had embraced individual consciousness. Even the most perfect predators in the galaxy discovered they were missing something fundamental, the experience of being an individual capable of connection with others. After days of debate, the Alliance Council made an unprecedented decision. Earth would be granted full membership in the Alliance, not because of its technology, but because of what its people could teach other civilizations about the power of emotional intelligence. The Empathy Protocol was established as a fundamental principle of Alliance diplomacy, the recognition that true advancement required both technological progress and emotional development. As the council session concluded, Maya found herself standing on an observation deck with Commander Zorlax and Echo looking out at the stars. "Your world will change now," Zorlax said. "Access to Alliance technology will advance your civilization by centuries." Maya nodded. "And in exchange, we'll help the Alliance remember something it seems to have forgotten along the way." "What is that?" Echo asked, its voice having developed more nuance in the months since its transformation. "That the universe isn't just meant to be understood," Maya replied, placing one hand on the viewport glass. "It's meant to be felt." Echo made a sound that might have been a laugh, something no Kravax had ever done before. "The Queen sends a message. She says the Kravax sought perfection through consumption and assimilation for thousands of years. Now they understand that perfection cannot be taken or copied. It must be experienced and grown." Zorlax, who had spent his 300-year life dedicated to logic and efficiency, found himself experiencing something new, a stirring of what humans would call wonder. "I have calculated and analyzed countless phenomena across the galaxy," he admitted, "but I am beginning to suspect there are things that cannot be measured, only felt." As the three of them, humans and Terry, an evolved Kravax, looked out at the vast canvas of stars, they each understood that they stood at the beginning of something extraordinary. The barriers between their vastly different species were dissolving not through conquest or assimilation, but through mutual understanding and respect. The galaxy's most feared predators had indeed met their match in humanity. Not because humans had destroyed them, but because they had shown them a different way to exist, as beings capable of individual thought, feeling, and connection. And in doing so, humanity had not only saved itself, but had transformed the very definition of what it meant to be an advanced civilization. The predators had feared nothing until they fought humans. And in that fight, they had found not an end, but a beginning, the birth of something new and hopeful for all species across the stars.